Hello everyone, it's Double Shine here, and today I want to put together a list of all of the important, frequently asked questions, the tips and tricks that I have learned from completing the grid, as well as from different members of the community coming back, and other things that we've kind of learned as Gridmaster has gone on. And hopefully this will help you if you're still working on completing the grid. Maybe you're starting a second challenge run, or just some useful stuff that you might not have heard about yet. Starting off with some choices that you'll be asked to make. When you complete the Gridmaster tutorial, you'll be picking between Lumberjack, Power Miner, and Animal Wrangler. And if you're worried about this choice, don't worry, you'll actually be getting all three of these tools incredibly early on. So the Echo Pickaxe, the Echo Axe, and the Echo Harpoon. So really the choice doesn't matter too much, and you can kind of go with whatever you want. Chopping maple logs is also another one of the tools, and mining gold ore is another tool. So I would really recommend either starting with Lumberjack or starting with Power Miner, and then getting the other tools by completing these as well. So it's really not too bad. Animal Wrangler is pretty damn good, but again, it doesn't have something like immediately attached to it. That's why I would recommend saving it for third and instead going for Lumberjack or Power Miner and then working backwards through the rest. Now in Gridmaster, there's a couple of experience share relics that will basically link three different skills together. And whenever you get experience in one of them, you gain 50% of that in the other two as well. Killing an Ogress gives you Combatant. That's a combat related one. Temperos will give you Craftsman, which is the production related skills one. And killing the Crab gives you Gatherer, which is all of your gathering related ones. And choosing which three to pick can actually be pretty important and save you a lot of time. Now, with Combatant, it's pretty open-ended. I would recommend going something like Prayer Range Strength. I personally went Prayer Attack Strength and then just train my range by itself. And after having played a second time through and linking it with Magic instead, I think Magic Range Strength is also pretty damn good. You get a lot of passive Magic experience by alching with Golden Gods. So it's actually a pretty good option as well. And I think that you can get a lot of your free experience just passively through alching. But again, I think either prayer or magic and then linked with like strength or ranged or strength and attack, those are all really, really good. I think either way, you're going to always have one skill that's a little bit weaker, like defense might be lagging a bit behind or attack might be lagging a bit behind. And honestly, you can just lamp that or just train using that style. So that's just something to consider. But yeah, something like magic range strength or prayer range strength are both very good options. Next up for Craftsman, originally I linked Construction, Herbler, and Rune Crafting. The idea there is to let Construction, which has really fast experience rates, train Herbler and Rune Crafting. However, there's been a bit more Theory Crafting that came out that I actually missed, and it's a really cool strategy. And instead of doing something like Construction, Herbler, and Rune Crafting, instead you're going to link Construction, Herbler, and Cooking. And the idea there is that you'll actually be using cooking as your main engine. So Production Prodigy will automatically cook your entire inventory. And it's really easy to just buy yourself a full inventory of fish at this fish shop in Port Piscarillas. And it doesn't have as much gold requirements as those more expensive, construction methods. So instead, you can just go here, buy all of the sharks that you want, and basically use that to get 99 construction, 99 herbler, essentially 26 mil cooking. And you'll just automatically cook these at a place like the Rogue's Den, which is right next to a fire anyways. They could also do this with something like fletching instead of cooking. It's also pretty fast. It's just a bit more click intensive, but I really like this method. I think it's very, very genius and a really great way to get your account rolling. You'll be able to get your 99 construction taken care of very quickly. You'll be able to get a skill cape going, all the cooking levels you need, all the herbivore levels you need for like a Zamorak brew. And overall, I think that's just a very, very smart way of training all of your craftsman stuff together. As for Gatherer, the three options I would go for would be Agility, Slayer, and Thieving. And the biggest reason is that there is a task for 92 Agility as well as a task for 92 Slayer. Now, originally, I linked this with fishing because I wanted to just go and do AFK fishing. However, with how fast the mode is, one of the best things you can do is to use thieving instead. And then you'll simply do pickpocketing or gem stalls at 75 thieving are very, very fast. And then that will passively link into agility and slayer and help get them to that 92 requirement for these two tasks in the bottom corner. Overall, it's probably going to save you the most amount of time. I did have to do a good amount of agility training and a good amount of slayer training to get those requirements. So I would definitely consider agility, slayer plus thieving, or some other fast training method that you can do. Okay, next up, let's talk about mega rares and which one to pick. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that getting any rare unique from Tombs of Amasket gives you a Megarare voucher, and this can include things like the jewels, the thread. So it's actually quite easy. Even at 0 invocation, you can get this. And there's also a mega rare for getting a rare from Chambers of Xeric and from the Theater of Blood as well. And just be a little careful when picking this, as if you just instantly claim it, you'll actually get the first option, which is the scythe. It doesn't give you a voucher, it just gives you the actual thing. So, be careful. A lot of people have messed up that way. So my first option would be the Twisted Bow, which also comes with 4,000 dragon arrows, which is completely insane. And the reason why is that it's just so versatile and so strong on its own, especially once you have all 6 of the combat masteries and range never misses. The T-Bow just kind of carries you through like 95% of content. It's really damn strong. You can use it almost anywhere. And probably the biggest thing is that it doesn't really need that much to get it going. You can kind of just equip it, just start doing content, and you're basically like, you're going to be doing pretty competitive amount of damage almost everywhere. Next up, I would go with the Scythe, which does come with about 20,000 charges, so you don't have to charge it or anything. I got mine by doing Chambers of Xeric with the Twisted Bow and then getting a Scythe from there. Now, the Scythe is really good to use. However, there is also the Khopesh, which already exists, and the Khopesh is just such a great melee weapon of choice that a lot of times you're probably going to be better off using the Khopesh instead of the Scythe. Whereas with the Twisted Bow, there's not as many good alternatives. The Dragor Blowpipe is nice, but it kind of does fall off in terms of damage. So that's kind of why the Scythe isn't going to be used as much. There's also options like the Sunlight Spear. So again, you already have a lot of good melee weapons. I don't really think that the Scythe shines anywhere the same way that the Twisted Bow does. It also has the limitation of being a melee weapon. So there's a lot of instances where just having that extra range is going to help you more. And even things like the Colosseum, you can do all of that with just a Twisted Bow. It's just that versatile. And again, not being able to miss as range just makes Twisted Bow such an incredible weapon. Finally, I would go with Tumikin's Shadow as your third mega rare. The Shadow is great. It does do a lot of damage. However, one of the things that makes the Shadow so good is that it triples all of your magic accuracy and your magic damage bonus. And when you're doing your first TOA and getting that done early, you're probably not going to have a lot of the big tools that enhance your magic. So things like the Amulet of the Monarchs, this gives you 10% magic. The Emperor Ring, that's another 5% magic. The Battle Hat from Awakened bosses, that's another 5% magic damage. You're probably not going to have these before you do your first TOA. So it's not really getting that much like juice from your gear yet. I doubt you've been like grinding out Ancestral or Virtus, at which point you probably already have Chambers of Xeric done anyways, right? So that's why I think Shadow is probably best saved as a third item. And honestly, even with all of that gear, it's still nowhere near as good as ranged and melee are, just because, Khopesh, Scythe, Twisted Bow, these weapons are just so incredibly overpowered. And also the combat masteries for magic just don't really do as much as ranged and melee do. So I would recommend leaving Shadow for last. You can definitely use it as a fun weapon for a couple things to help me for Awakened Whisper. But honestly, I'm pretty sure Twisted Bow might be more damage there anyways. So I don't know. Shadow's cool. It's just not really that good for this format. Next up, I want to talk about a series of grid hacks. These are like unintuitive things that people have kind of found out from completing the grid that really helps speed up progress. And if you don't know about these, they're really, really helpful. And if I had known about them, I definitely would have changed a lot of my strategy for day one. First up, when you complete Dragon Slayer 2, you can actually go to the Myths Guild, which is unlocked through Dragon Slayer 2. And this only requires you to catch a moth barehanded. And complete this quest actually gives you 4 increments of 25,000 experience lamps. So that's essentially 100k experience that you can put into any combat skill. And then that gets multiplied by any of your experience multipliers. So I think I did this at 9x and I got like 900k experience, which is really huge. And you could easily put this into something like defense to get this Barrows chest done. That's what I did. Or you could put it into attack or hit points or one of those combat skills that are a little bit lagging behind and you want to catch them up so you can, use some of those good mega rares that you might have already gotten. Unfortunately, this looks like the only quest line that actually gives you experience. I know a lot of people thought that Sins of the Father might give you all the free experience, maybe Desert Treasure 2, but so far it's only Dragon Slayer 2 that we found that actually gives you free experience from completing it. And again, that's Ellen on the ground floor of the Myths Guild. However, we have found experience in other ways that you can very easily claim. When you complete 4 or 5 of the Hallowed Sepulchre, which does require 92 agility, you'll actually get all of the achievement diaries automatically completed. And what we've sort of found is that this also gives you all of the diaries for actually completing all of the achievement diaries. So you can see here, I have every single diary completed, and I was actually able to claim every single lamp from doing so. With the exception of the Arty Elite one, there's a failsafe that requires like 91 smithing, which I don't have. But all in all, it comes out to a bit short of 900k experience between all of these experience lamps, which is absolutely ridiculous. And again, that's multiplied by all of your experience multipliers. I was already at 15x. So, I mean, again, that's almost like 13 mil plus experience, which is like an entire skill to 99. And so this 92 agility requirement, which you don't even have to complete the final floor on time, you just have to complete it. You can take as much time as you want in there. People have also found that you can use last stand to kind of cheese the last floor by using like a locator orb to damage yourself, and then you get about 15 seconds that you can run through the gauntlet during that last floor, and you're not actually going to be teleported back. And if you're struggling to get to floor 5, you can also buy these hollow tokens, which increase the amount of time that you get. So the time aspect is not that bad. You just have to get through the last floor of the Hollowed Sepulchre. And yeah, it unlocks an absurd amount of experience, which will help you with things like getting, 92 Slayer for a Raxor, or that 2000 total level to unlock the tile up here at the top left. Speaking of that 2000 total level, this one unlocks all of the combat achievements, which also has a bunch of experience locked behind it. So over at the Warriors Guild, once you've actually completed that 2000 total, make sure you head over and claim some lamps. It's definitely not as much as all of the achievement diaries, but it's a little bit extra that you can put into some of your skills and get them up. So this is another really good thing to look out for, a bunch of free experience to throw in. Now, for one last experience bonus, if you head over to the Varrock Museum, you can actually get a bunch of free mining and crafting experience when you have more than 101 kudos. So what I did was I completed the entire Sins of the Father quest line by just doing Vampire Slayer, which is not very difficult. And then when you talk to Historian Minas over here, you'll be able to say that you have some information that might be of display. I mean, here I have a bunch of other ones done from the other quests that I've gotten auto completed as well. But again, it's not very hard to get 101 kudos. Some of these also do give some free lamps as well, which we can toss into, some of our skills. But again, once you've actually gotten 101, you can talk to the information clerk here. And I believe there's something about, they'll tell you something about like how much you can claim, and you'll get a little bit of mining, a little bit of crafting. That's actually what got me early to like 37 mining and about 35 crafting, something like that. In particular, that's really good to skip those early mining levels, and you can basically go straight to mining gold ore off that. So nice little early boost of mining and crafting, especially if you didn't go with Power Miner at the start. Maybe you went with Animal Wrangler on accident or something, or you didn't really think about it. It's an easy way to get this gold ore requirement without having to actually go and do any mining yet. All right, this extra is pretty cool, but if you are looking to get your Black Mask, you don't actually have to do all the quests for it. You can actually go to the Tool Leprechaun at Harmony Island. And I don't know why, because I haven't even done the quest yet, but basically you'll be able to kind of backtrack your way here. Opening up this door puts you at Mostly Harmless. And then you can actually go over to the Cave Horror Cave, start grinding out your Black Mask. It is boosted, so it takes somewhere around like 60 to 70 kills on rate for it. And this is a really nice way for you to get a little bit more damage and get that Slayer Mask, that Black Mask effect, before you have access to the Battle Hat, which does act as a Slayer Helm. Unfortunately, that's also locked behind Awakened Bosses, which is one of the harder tiles on the board. Now, as for actually imbuing it, that's a little bit trickier. There's not really a great option. You're probably going to have to go over to Soul Wars and try to get this done. Nightmare Zone is disabled, so you won't be able to get any points there. So just try to look for a Soul Wars game running. World 666 usually has some games going for the mini games, and so that's a pretty good option. You could probably go in there and sneak a couple Soul Wars game. And people are saying it only takes like 4 to 5 games. Then you have enough to imbue your mask to get the extra damage for magic and for ranged on top of strength. So that's a pretty good shout out, and it might actually help you to get some of those harder tasks done. In the meantime, is getting that Slayer Mask effect combined with the Slayer Master perk from the Inferno Major, which treats every single, basically almost everything, as a Slayer monster. And yeah, that combined can just be really, really helpful. All right, and I've already kind of talked about this, but over in Tombs of Amasket, again, any single like unique here, including a thread, including any of the jewels, any of these will satisfy the requirements. So even doing a 0 invocation raid will get you a mega rare super, super early on. And you can also claim this experience lamp over here when you talk to like the guys and complete the Into the Tombs mini quest, and that's another 50k combat experience lamp that you can use. So again, a lot of free experience that you can use to train some of those combat skills that have been lagging a little bit behind. Okay, bit of a lightning round here. Some really fast, easy questions. How do you get a Torstol to make the Zamorak brew? You're going to want to use the Forager's Pouch, which will automatically gather herbs when you're doing any kind of gathering skill like fishing, wood cutting, hunter, and this can also give you Torstols as well. Keep in mind, though, that there is an Herblore level requirement to get Torstols. I believe it's level 50 Herblore, so make sure you have that first, then go farm for it. And one little trick you can do is instead of constantly emptying out your pouch, just keep it all full. And that way, whenever it tries to add a new one, it will only add stuff that you don't have yet. So if it's completely full and you only withdraw like dwarf fleets, for example, then it will add new dwarf fleets instead of anything else. And again, you could do the same thing to kind of force your way to get a Torstol once you have the Herblore level. But honestly, it should only take a couple minutes, like hitting a tree or fishing to get, the Torstol that you need for the Zamorak brew. Earlier, we talked about catching a moth, which requires 75 hunter. A lot of people see this Moonlight Moth and they think, okay, don't you need 85 hunter for that? However, you can actually catch a Sunlight Moth, and that only requires 75 hunter to catch. So one thing we can do is head over to the Hunters Guild, and you actually don't even really need 75 hunter. You can actually do this at 73 as well. You stop at the Hunter Guild. There's no quest requirement to actually get down here. You can actually grab a Trapper's Tipple. This is a 2 hunter boost as well. So 73 hunter plus this extra 2 bonus. You can head right outside the Hunter Guild. And again, this is just, it's such an easy, such a fast task to get done. Drink the tipple and go ahead and catch one of these sunlight moths hanging out just outside. And that's your moth task completed. Another one I see is how to get a fruit tree seed for the grown fruit tree, something you're probably going to want to plant pretty early on. It takes about 3 hours to grow. A very common trick here is to head southeast of the Ferox Enclave to these mammoths, and you can get a fruit tree at about 1 in 20. So that's a pretty good option. You see, I got a pineapple seed in just like 10 kills coming over here. Another option that you can try as well is to head over to Auburnvale. You can go to the Nemu's Retreat one, or pretty much any. There's a lot of tool leprechauns and stuff over here, and you can actually just chop trees pretty much anywhere here in Auburnvale or in Taltechlin, like where the crab is at, and the rainforest over here. And these guys can give you Ent seeds, and Ent seeds can be traded in. I'll see if I actually have any on me. I do. Ent seeds can be traded in at any of the Ents, and they have a chance of giving you a pretty good chance, actually, of giving you a nest that has a fruit tree. So you can see here, we got willow this time. I think it's about 50-50. You either get like a willow or you get like some kind of regular tree or you get a fruit tree. But I would say that's another decent option is if you're doing any kind of wood cutting, just, chop trees over here in Auburnvale or over by the crab and, trade in your Ent seeds to get that fruit seed going. And that can be like a nice skilling option instead of going for combat with the mammoths. Some people have also done the giant mole and traded in pieces to get the nests. That's also an option as well. All right, how do you get an Onyx for the Fury so that you can make this task, the Amulet of Fury, and get Desert Treasure 2 done? So this is a League's classic. You're going to be using Tokel to buy it. So you don't actually need to fight the fight caves to actually get all the Tokel. What you can do is instead just buy yourself a bunch of death runes. Again, this is kind of a League's classic with something like Golden God, where you can just buy a ton of death runes. You don't really need to care about how much money you're making. Then head back over to Sahar City, or you can use this fairy ring that'll take you there. And what you're going to do is head over to the rune shop, sell the death runes that you got. I'm selling them probably 50 at a time because, again, I don't really care how much money I make. And then you could sell them all. I think it takes about 16,000 death runes if you're selling it 50 at a time. And you can see you get a whole bunch of Tokel very, very quickly. Head just a little bit north here to the gem shop, and you can buy an uncut Onyx for 300k Tokel, which is, again, quite a bit. But I mean, it shouldn't take you that long to go sell like 16,000 death runes or so. It's also kind of nice if you want to get yourself like a obsidian shield. This is actually a pretty decent offhand paired with the Kopesh until you have something like the Thousand Dragon Ward, which is a pretty late game item. Like you're probably not going to be completing this column very early on. So I think obsidian shield is a great pickup. It's probably a lot faster to buy this than to go and grind out a dragon defender or something. So definitely a good consideration. All right, how do you get over to God Wars dungeon to do those uniques? This is a pretty good question, and the easiest way that I would recommend is probably just do Trollheim teleport. You do unlock this from completing either While Gothic Sleeps. I think Dragon Slayer 2 also unlocks this as well. So there's a couple of these big quest lines that will unlock it. And then you can just kind of head on down. You don't even need climbing boots, just a couple of these small agility shortcuts to get down over there. In addition, if you've completed any tier of the combat achievements, you can also use the hilt to get over there as well. So I can teleport over to Trollheim and head north into the God of War dungeon. Just make sure you bring a rope, as you are going to need that to actually get down for the first time. You do need to like put the rope down. And then also, bring a mithril grapple if you're going to Armadillo. Bring another, I think, 2 ropes if you're doing Ziliana. And, make sure you bring some god items if you're low stats because, it can get kind of dangerous down there. Finally, how do you get to Barrows? This is pretty simple. You're going to go to Bergdarat teleport, probably what I would do. And then you can just head north out of the gates and run east over to Barrows. If you have access to Arceus spellbook, you can also Barrows teleport as well. But, I mean, you're probably going to be doing this a lot earlier than getting 83 magic and whatnot. So, I would recommend Bergdarat Bank, head over to Barrows, and then you can do all of your grind over there. Okay, let's talk about construction real quick and what some of your options are for construction. I would recommend from level 1 to 47, if you are training construction, to use any kind of bagged plants. You can buy these either in the farming guild or at Falador Park. That's another really good option. The reason why this is so good is not only are you getting a bunch of early construction, but you're also getting some early farming levels checked off as well. So I would recommend this from at least 1 to 47. Basically, you're going to be buying bag plant 1, bag plant 2, bag plant 3, and then just the best tree: oak, willow, maple. All right, at 47, if you've already gotten the money from Golden God, I would really recommend gold sinks. I think these things are just ridiculous how much experience they get you. I think it's about 11,000 baseline. The condensed gold are very expensive. It's like over 100 mil. And the mahogany planks, you can very easily just use the lumberjack relic to chop it. All you need to do is make sure you toggle it to keep the logs instead. That way it won't burn them or fletch them. It will keep those mahogany logs. And then you'll just process all of those logs somewhere like Auburnvale, which is really, really close to a bank. You can see the sawmill is literally just a couple steps away from the bank here. So very easy to go make some mahoganies. And I only should take like less than 10 gold sinks to actually get from like 47 to the next milestone. So I would really recommend doing that. At 68, I would recommend making ornate league statues in the leagues hall. These do require marble blocks and gold leaves, but it's a lot cheaper than the gold sinks. And you can kind of make like 3 of them per inventory very quickly. If you don't have a butler or anything like that, you can also just teleport out, teleport back in. That's a pretty good option. I was getting really good experience rates doing this. At level 79, you can switch and build a superior garden and instead start working on marble walls. These do reload the house, but I was pretty impressed at how fast this was. So at level 79, marble blocks. You can also use either Banker's Note or a butler to bring those marble blocks over to you. And that's a pretty good option as well. And I would do this all the way until at least 95. And at 95, you're definitely going to want to switch to making thrones. I already have my demonic throne built here, but at 95, you can start making crystal thrones, which require magic stones. So it's about 15 mil a pop, but the experience here is absolutely insane. This will carry you all the way to 99, or if you want to go past that, you'll just switch to demonic thrones at 99. And again, the experience here is just absolutely insane. Very, very, very high experience methods. Okay, if you're struggling to train agility, one of the really good options that you can do is head over to the chest wreck in Fossil Island, and you're going to be doing underwater agility. You are going to want to be getting some flippers first, which you do have to do. Flippy and the Mogers or something like that, and go kill them. It is a little bit annoying, but I mean, they die pretty fast. You don't actually need the diving apparatus or anything like that, and all you're going to want to do is basically grab the flippers so that you can run underwater and then just start heading over to the underwater training area. I died because I weigh too much, but that's okay. We'll get rid of some of our gear here real fast. All right, much better. So we head over to the underwater agility area, and the reason why this works is because of dodgy deals, which is actually the thieving relic. But this hybrid minigame actually becomes very, very good once you have access to dodgy deals, because you can actually like loot from these different, oysters or chests or anything else you find. There's a really helpful underwater agility plugin that I use to show all the little shortcuts, as well as to get rid of a lot of the noise in the area. There's a lot of like flowers and things like that. And when you actually have everything here, it can get a little tough to see what's going on. So I usually hide all of it and just focus on the important stuff. And basically the idea is you'll be looting from these chests to get a whole bunch of like tokens that you can turn in for agility experience. And it's one of the fastest like active ways of training agility. So if you didn't link agility with one of your other faster skills, like with something like thieving, then this is a pretty good option to kind of rush that 92 agility requirement that you'll need. And one thing I would recommend if you're starting off and you're kind of struggling here is to try not to go for every single last one. If something is really far away or if your oxygen is getting kind of low, you can instead try to just kind of stay in one central area and only look for the drops that are kind of really close to you. That way you're not running around aimlessly across the entire map. And yeah, you'll basically get these tiers. You can hold up to 700 at a time before it puts a cap on it. So make sure you go turn in at 700, run to the next chest, keep your oxygen levels high so you don't, lose, you don't like, you're basically going to get reset at the start. You can also turn in the fossils for experience as well, but I usually just drop these and just focus on the tiers instead. Here we got lucky. We got one that's super close, right? So this is a good example of instead of going for every single one, try to stay in like kind of one central area. And when it's close, you could say close. Otherwise, bring some fletching materials or something like that you can do down here, or just chill and hang out. It's not the end of the world if you miss a couple minutes. But this is sort of your active agility training method for leagues or for like seasonal modes. Another question I get a lot is how do you get darts for your blowpipe? I was using mithril darts for the most part, which I pretty much easily just mine some mithril and smith that into making the darts. Tourist Trap is already auto-completed from the start, so you can already go and make that. If you're looking to upgrade, Dragon Dart tips from Vorkath are a pretty good option. You can also get some from Vardorvis if you're farming out the orbs, or even TOA when you go to get the rare unique. But I would recommend either Vorkath or Vardorvis. And I actually saw another pretty cool method, which involves buying a whole bunch of rune plate legs from like the Champions Guild or over in Narda. And if you head over to Alderan, there's actually this windmill just south of the bank with a nest on top. It's a reference to Dark Souls 3, where you trade in items to get other items. And it turns out that trading in rune plate legs will actually get you a runite bar. So this can actually be a really good way of getting runite bars. It's something I think I definitely would have done for like 100 or so, just to very quickly go and get some rune darts instead. I'll put my rune plate legs right down here, quickly log out, come back to the game, and I should have a runite bar there. So it's something you can really knock out in like just a minute or two and get some very, very easy runite darts. There we go. We got our runite bar, and we can go again and trade in more. So it's a pretty cool trick, and I think I really like this idea. Now, one of the common things I get asked a lot is how do you get your third combat mastery? Is I do think you're a little restricted in terms of your combat until you get that third combat mastery, especially with the Drygor Blowpipe. It works really well together. Personally, I would recommend, if you can, go ahead and give this row 3 a try. You do have to complete the Corrupted Gauntlet. I would definitely try it out, see if you can get this done. If you're struggling to get this done, you won't have access to things like the Shark. However, I think you can probably give this a fair shot and just, see if you can get the Corrupted Gauntlet done. But if you're struggling with this, I think another really good option, and will take a bit of time, is to look at this row instead, or like column 5. It does require you to kill the Major in the Inferno, which I know is kind of challenging, which you will have to go and do Jad as well. But the reason why I like this one in particular is because you don't have to do any of these RNG grinds, like grinding out Vorkath or Huey or God Wars Dungeon. Originally, I thought column 3 would be easier, but personally, I just feel like the God Wars unique and the Huey unique are kind of a pain in the ass to grind personally, and I think I would rather just skip doing this and go for this one instead. You can also try your luck though, go for a Vorkath unique if you're feeling confident. Try to go for Huey, try to go for God Wars. Like, you could do any of them, but I kind of like the idea of just working towards this one, because I think with Shark and with the Bottomless Brew, I really do feel like you have a pretty good chance at getting the Inferno Major done, and it's not as RNG dependent as these other columns and rows. Finally, a lot of people have asked how to actually kill the Calphite Queen in order to get the Blowpipe, and what I would recommend you do is to first get Spiky Aura, which reflects some of the damage you take. And then this actually kind of trivializes a lot of bosses, including God Wars and Calphite Queen, because you can kind of just sit there and reflect damage and spam eat your Shark, and that should hopefully kill the bosses in the meantime. Just make sure you get at least 1 point of damage off, because otherwise it doesn't count as your kill, because it's not really really your damage. Anyways, guys, that's it for all of the commonly asked questions. Hopefully I covered enough information. If I missed anything, please let me know. I could try to either work on a part 2, or I'll just answer in the comments below. So I hope this helped, and I hope you guys are all enjoying Gridmaster. I've been working on doing Scritic's Gridmaster games, which is a bit of a randomizer. It's got a bit of a challenge tasks associated with it, and that's been a lot of fun as well. I still got a couple more ideas coming up, but I wanted to make sure that all this information is out there so that you guys have access to that. And basically just, answers all those burning questions that you might still have. Let me know if this helped, and I'll see you guys very soon.